Good morning, traders. Today is July the 30th. My name is Neville Hornsey, market analyst with YouTrading, and today I'll be talking about the British pound versus the Australian dollar. As always, I'm going to start with the YouTrading.com heat map, and we can see here we've got the major forex pairs. The British pound is green across the board, and the Australian dollar is red. So British pound today is the strongest, and Australian dollar is one of the weakest. If we go to the active trader platform, and I just take you to the British pound versus US dollar, you can see here that the British pound over the last several days has been making green candles. So you can see the relative strength is quite high. Australian dollar versus the US dollar, has been in a downtrend for a while, but has been consolidating. So if we then go back to the British pound Aussie, you can see here how the British pound has been advancing against most currency pairs, and we can see it's there stepping higher. Now, they do say the bulls take the stairs and the bears take an elevator. So that kind of describes this price action. And I've marked up the Asian session in the green sort of cyan box here. And that signifies to me a sort of low volume, low volatility range generally. And one of the first trades I got taught was the Asian breakout. So essentially you box off the Asia Pac session and the sort of the highs and the lows. And then at the London Open, you wait for a breakout in, either side of that. So as the British pound is advancing against most currency pairs, I'd always be looking for a long, and I would use my cable sort of chart to sort of give me some direction, or at least look at, say, the dollar index to confirm that. If the dollar index is collapsing, then I'm looking for pound and euro to be going higher. So going back to the British pound Aussie dollar. So as you can see, during an uptrend, the volatility is normally to the upside. And, back in the 27th of July, a few days ago, we had this really big move. Now it does break out and it can come back down to test the center of that trade. So if you're not keen on taking breakouts, maybe wait for a pullback into the range and then take the long then. What you do want to look out for is for the Asia Pac session to be within the previous day's sort of price action. So you can see here there's a swing high here and a swing low before, and essentially if you're taking the breakout, you'd have found resistance back at these highs. Also, if you look to the left, this particular range was sort of in balance with the previous day's range, and then you can see today's range was also in balance with those. So when you get that situation, what I like to do is basically say, right, this is all now one big range, and I'm going to be looking for a breakout of this overall sort of sideways market. Now, the type of sideways market that works best is when you get a clear breakout, or for those that don't like trading breakouts, but you like to trade, fade those sort of moves. Here you can see on the daily time frame on the British pound versus US dollar, we had this big sort of sideways move pretty much all year. And then I had been pointing out for quite a few days, maybe weeks now, this double bottom here, where I always think there's going to be some sort of liquidity, some sort of stops. If you're long, you're either going to trail the stops up below the sort of swing lows, or you're going to keep it below where you think, your idea is wrong. And most long traders would have thought, well, if it breaks this double bottom, I'm wrong. And, we'll be below the 200 period moving average and we're likely to go lower. What we did see was a look below and then a close back inside. And then that has instigated this sort of big bull trend. So that's one way of looking at a range. You can look to fade the breakouts. Or if we go to, say, the dollar index, I've been saying how, we've been grinding higher and, we're in a rising channel and we're looking likely to take out this swing high here. However, when you see a rising channel like this, the tendency is for them to break to the downside. So you can see that's what happened here. And we had a clear breakout and then a second day where it broke out, retested, and then continued. So that is how a breakout should appear. You should see like a good close below and then some sort of breakout, retest, continuation. if we go to the Australian dollar, you know, a lot of people will look for, say, head and shoulders. I mentioned this back in sort of June, that this was a potential head and shoulders pattern, and that we'd be looking for a breakdown to the downside. Here you can see we had a clear breakdown, a retest, and then we've continued lower. Now, what has happened is that obviously the US dollar has, you know, got a lot weaker recently, and what I'm expecting now is for this Aussie US dollar to at least attempt a break north of this descending channel. At the moment, it's finding, you know, resistance at the daily 20 EMA and this previous swing high here. So that was resistance, became support, didn't get tested again until became support, broke that, is now resistance. So for this level to break, we need to see a break above for it to get tested as support and then a continuation higher, or we're going to see the resumption of this sort of pattern playing out, which should normally be like sort of ×2 the sort of distance from the head to the sort of neck, and then the breakdown would take us down to this double bottom here. So that's another way of looking for breakouts. British pound US dollar is also now making this channel. So, you know, if you do see any movement to the downside, you have to be aware of that. But going back to the British pound Aussie dollar, British pound at the moment is the strongest. Aussie dollar is one of the weakest. So for this to continue higher now, I'm going to say ignore the sort of London breakout trade, if you like. But now we've got this nice sideways pattern, I'll be looking for a clean breakout. Then I'll be looking for a retest before the continuation higher. Okay, I hope that's helpful, and I'll speak to you next week.